Each season, the Loft plans thematic programming, classes, and events, and this winter-spring, the theme is Sense of Adventure. Anne, you're one of our Sense of Adventure teaching artists. Could you introduce yourself and your class?
Sure. My name's Anne Elliott. I live in Portland, Maine. My class is called Gallery View: Experiments in Narrative Ekphrasis. And if you don't know what ekphrasis is, it's the literary response to visual art. My background's in visual art. I studied sculpture and intermedia, and lately I've been writing a lot of fiction about visual art. So it's my passion right now, and hopefully I can convey a little bit of that in the class. It's a purely generative class, so people of any level can take it.
So you spoke a little bit about visual art, and obviously our theme is Sense of Adventure, and I'm curious about what adventure means to you and how those tie in together.
Well, for me, it's interesting. A museum or a gallery is both my comfort zone and my place of adventure. So, I go to a new city. The first thing I do is I look for the museums, see when they're open, and try and schedule my everything around that, and just go see what surprises are there. And oftentimes I'll discover an artist I've never heard of before, whose work is amazing. And I take my camera, I take a lot of pictures, and then when I come home, I look at these pictures and I relive this adventure of going to look at art that I've never seen before. So that's for me. And I to the extent that my budget allows it, I'll go anywhere to do that. And I'm a budget traveler for sure. I'm a taker of megabus and cheap trains, and I stay in hostels and do whatever I can to keep it cheap. So yeah, that's my idea of adventure.
Do you have a particular place that you've been that you would consider especially adventurous?
Um Adventurous. Yeah, so I took a trip by myself, and the fact that I was by myself was what made it feel adventurous. Um, to the Low Countries to look at Dutch portraiture, with the thought of writing about it. And I stayed in hostels, and I didn't speak the language. Of course, everybody over there speaks English. I picked up a little bit of Dutch, and I looked at every Jan van Eyck painting I could find. And it was snowing. It was in winter time. I went this time of year. So here I am trudging through the snow and trying not to get sick. And I had a great time. And now it's what I've been writing about while I'm cooped up inside. So yeah.
So why do you think this idea of adventure is so enduring and universal of a topic?
Well, at least in fiction, I'd say that travel stories are one way that anybody who's literate can travel. You can read Don Quixote and experience travel, and it's even time travel in a way, right? It's like you can experience what this character is doing in a different place. And so yeah, and I think that travel is the way a lot of people individuate. Like, so I think individuation is a big theme for stories in general. Like here I went out into the world, and that's how I became myself and became, not just a piece of my family, but it's how you come into yourself. So that's my opinion on it.
And right now with COVID, the pandemic,
Yeah.
obviously people aren't traveling in traditional ways, at least not, quite so much. So how have you personally managed to hang on to that sense of adventure?
Well, I spent a lot of time looking at screens like we all do, and reading. So I have been taking it upon myself to consider reading books that are set in other countries or that were written in other languages and translated into English. And so that's one kind of adventure. And I'm discovering different approaches to the sentence that way, which is kind of interesting. And uh, I watch a lot of YouTube. I watch weird stuff on YouTube. There's all kinds of genres that I'm discovering, like, or my husband's really into this thing where they'll strap a camera onto the front of a train, and it's just footage of the train. I mean, and that's all it is. It's so simple. It's very hypnotizing. So I'm into that. And in terms of art, um, the offerings that museums and galleries have now is amazing. A lot of them have adapted. A lot of them are putting videos on YouTube of gallery tours, which is really exciting. And the museum websites have put a lot more of their stuff online, so you can really, and you can look at the artwork in a way that you can't in real life. I mean, I mentioned Jan van Eyck before. One of the paintings I saw when I went over to Belgium was the Ghent altarpiece, which is enormous, and they've recently restored it. So they've taken pieces of it and put them in a museum, and you can look at them eye to eye. But unfortunately, no one can go in this museum now because of COVID. So a guy went through and took video of all of these paintings, and you can watch that video from anywhere in the world and see these paintings up close. And in situ in the cathedral, you can't see these paintings up close because they're, some of them are very, very high. So it's a give and take. Or a lot of masterworks have been photographed in a way that you can zoom in and out on them on your screen, especially if you're using a tablet. You can zoom way in and look at extreme detail, which is exciting. If you're studying these paintings, you can see things that you actually couldn't see with the naked eye, and that you certainly couldn't see in a museum because it's too crowded. So you can have like a private time with the artwork in a way too. So there's advantages to doing it from home. It's certainly cheaper, and you get to sleep in your own bed, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like this time has made the concept of being an armchair traveler or an armchair researcher more accessible to more people.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're all learning tools that were there, that have been around for a while, but we're finally learning them, which is great. And I'm going to keep a lot of what I'm learning now and continue to use it.
So going back to your class for a second, what do you hope that students will gain, that they'll come away with at the end?
The main thing is a methodology that you can use if you get stuck. So say you don't know what you want to write, you feel like writing something, or you want to warm up in the morning before you sit down to continue your work in progress. Um, ways to find paintings to respond to, or other kinds of works of art, and just some specific methodologies. And then a secondary thing, which this would be a dream come true for me, is if anybody started a work that had some legs that they could really turn into something that was publishable. That would be super exciting for me.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Anne. Anne's class, as well as all of our Sense of Adventure classes, are listed on the Loft website at loft.edu. And Anne, we are really looking forward to your class coming up. Thank you
I
again.
am really looking forward to it too.